So first, I just want to thank everybody. Obviously, it's Memorial Day weekend, and we wanted to get this in. What we've realized is, of course, there's plenty of people out there blowing whistles for kids and coaching faceoffs, but the thing we really want to create more is more rapport with coaches. We want to make sure that you guys are as privy to information at this position and these skills and the things that we're teaching. They're not ours. They're the positions and the sports, and we want to make sure that we're all on the same page because it's going to help the kids. And what we have seen over the years is we train the kids. We help them get to that next level, whether it's an elite club team, whether it's a varsity team or a college program. And then once they get there, for a lot of coaches, it's a struggle because they're not sure how to keep updated information, or they're not really sure how to manage the position in general. And we totally feel for that. If I had a team and I had goalies, I wouldn't know what to do with them. So our goal now through this masterclass is to teach you guys how to manage the position, how to help your players progress, and then also insight to the position as far as what kids are looking for, what can help you on the recruiting trail, et cetera. So this first session we're really excited about because we feel like this is one of the more common questions that we get, which is, how do I manage these guys? What do I do in practice, et cetera? So, we're going to kick it off today and we're going to go over all of this stuff. So the very first thing is managing your face-off unit. And, I think the number one thing that coaches can do, no matter what level, to help yourself and to really maximize the performance and potential of your face-off unit in general is to make sure they understand that they're on the same team. And the reason I say that is because this position, from the time a kid starts playing this sport and plays as a face-off role, you have your parents, you have your coaches, you have yourself, you have other face-off coaches or whatever, and they're always trying to get you playing time, right? And it's always about, you're better than that kid. Why is that kid taking the face-off instead of you? And it's always like almost inundated upon you, and then it's like drilled into your head that you can win the next face-off and you should be the one taking the face-off. And even if you're a full team player, what we try to avoid is the inevitable feeling in the back of that 1% of a kid's brain of, yeah, I hope we win this game, but I kind of hope the kid who's playing instead of me right now loses this next face-off so I can play. And we want to wipe that out. So we're going to try to give you the steps to help that happen. The number one thing is, when we're looking at our depth chart and we want to create this singular focus of we're on the same team, is the number one thing you can do for yourself is to make it very clear to the kids that are on the face-off kids on your depth chart that how they perform on live reps in practice has absolutely nothing to do with playing time. Because what we tell them all the time is that is the only kid you're never going to play in a game, right? Jerry and I are on the same team. Jerry's the only person in the entire country who I'm never going to face off against at a game. So how I do against Jerry has absolutely nothing to do with how I'm going to do against Duke or Towson or Penn State, because they're completely different people. And that's what we tell our kids. Don't stare at your percentage, because every freshman we send to college comes back with us going, I went for 3 to 4 today and first day of practice against the starter. I think I'm going to see playing time this spring. And we try to make sure they understand that. And so that's like really important conversation to bring those guys in and make sure they understand that. The purpose of what they're doing, their goal is to make the other face-off guys better. And their goal is to learn everything they can about position and help each other learn everything they can about their opposition. And we're going to go over the details of how to do that. Jerry, is there anything to add to that idealistic approach?
Yeah, I think you touch base on that, on those pretty well. We're going to go into a little bit more in depth on that a little bit later down this list. So I don't want to bog us down too much.
Okay. So the thing you can start with, obviously college program, it's a little bit easier because the kids are living with each other, but is help them do everything together. You film study together. You scout together. You break things down together. If you're a high school coach and you know that Jerry Raganese runs his draw days nearby, make sure your kids are all going together. Make sure the senior is coming with the freshman or whoever the next guy up is. And make sure that they're all have rapport with each other, because the younger guys always look up to the older guys. But what you really want is for those guys to all be cheering for each other. And you want them to have success, each of them to have success together. And the more you can create a situation where everyone feels like they're a part of it, the better. I was on both ends of that when I went to school. You know, I was an incoming freshman. I had a guy who was older than me, and I ended up taking his job later on in the season, and he was great about it. And it was awesome for me to have that experience. Most guys don't have that experience. A lot of older guys aren't that mature, and they kind of take it the wrong way, and they feel like they're, you know, this is their shot in college, and they don't want their reps to be taken away. And then on the other side of it, if you're a successful guy, or even if you're maybe not the successful guy who's established himself as a starter, and you have a guy who was an underclassman coming up underneath you, for you to treat him the wrong way doesn't help the team at all, obviously. So what we want is for everyone to feel a successful part of this situation, regardless of what happens. So how do we do this other than just being together and studying and all that stuff? When you have roles, that's the most important part. And I always liken it to quarterbacks, right? You watch a starter, there's an established starter. There is the guy who's second in the depth chart. He knows he's second in the depth chart, but he's active in the game planning, right? He's on the sideline. He's calling in signals. As soon as the starter comes over for a timeout, the backup's there, the rookie's there, everybody's there. They're all talking about the game plan. They all hear the game plan. In this day and age, it's easier than ever because almost every team, regardless of what level you are, can have a kid on the sideline with an iPad. And that's what we always say, like, whoever you think is like legitimately, whether he's the red shirt guy or the freshman who's not going to see any time that year or sophomore or whatever, he should be holding the iPad because now he's got a really important job and he's in, right? He's lasered in. So that way we always tell our guys, when you lose a face-off, you have from the time you lose your face-off to the time you get to the sideline to feel bad for yourself. After that, you have to be analytical and not emotional. And if, you know, I always attribute my success with the Lizards to Jerry because Jerry was on the sideline and it was easy for me to come off the sideline after a loss and slam my helmet. But instead, the second I got to the box, Jerry was always right there to tell me what just happened on that loss. You know, the wings slid up last second right before the ref blew the whistle. Or when you're locked in with him, go through your legs. Don't try to force it forward because they're sitting on your left shoulder. That stuff stops loss streaks immediately because you can immediately make that adjustment. And imagine how excited a freshman or sophomore is going to be to meet a senior who comes off the field and give him that info, and they sit on the bench together instead of slamming their helmets or just freaking out. They're sitting there and they're game planning together. And you've created that environment where they're all trying to help each other and point stuff out. Not only does it excel the knowledge base of the entire team, but it also helps everyone have a role. And that's where you create that camaraderie, and that is infectious down the entire sideline. Here's the other part of it, and this is what we really ask coaches to do, because this is going to help you so much, not just from managing the face-off guys, but from winning. Is here's what usually happens, right? You have 3 guys on your depth chart. You have your starter or whoever the incumbent is. You have your rising guy who's the next up, and then you have like the incoming freshman or whoever who's going to be molded down the line. All 3 of them sit on a knee. All 3 of them do the same thing. It's just that this one's better than this one and who's better than this one. In game, if I'm going against TD and TD pumps my senior and he goes 0 for 5, now I'm just going to throw a kid who's not as good as the starter out, who does the same thing but worse, into a man-eating machine who's now 5 for 5. We all know how that story goes, right? He gets broken forward for a fast break. Kid comes out again until probably the 3rd or 4th quarter, and now his whole mindset is shot until the next time we see him. And what we impress upon coaches is if you're going to have your second stringer, if you're going to have the backup guy, the backup should be a changeup, a definitive changeup of technique. There's no reason everyone should be doing the same thing but slower, right? And this is what I mean. Maryland makes a run for the national title. Chris Mattis is there. He has a great senior. He has another senior in Gurenlian who was a complete changeup. That was the key to that team's success at the faceoffs. You send Austin Henningsen out. You tell him to dive in, go power clamp off a knee. The other team's guy starts to make the adjustment. Then you send out the backup, who is the complete opposite motion. That's where they got people. That's why Gurenlian had success. Gurenlian didn't go out and start any games. He went out when the other guy was getting his timing down against a knee-down guy, and then he used his bottom sidewall to completely take people out. And that's how you have success. Because if I'm mowing a guy down and you send another guy who does the same thing but worse, I'm just going to crush him. So that's what we impress upon. Now, some coaches will say, yeah, but I don't have a stand-up guy. We tell every kid, and we would ask you to do the same. If you're a high school coach, a club coach, or a college coach especially, when you talk to a face-off guy, you ask him, can you face off standing up too? And because we tell every single one of our kids, you need to be able to do both. You can't just sit on a knee your whole career and expect to beat everybody, because you're not going to be faster at clamping than everyone. So you better be able to stand up and rake. You better be able to have defensive footwork from a standing position. So if you have a starter and then you have the backup, he should have that skill set. And if he doesn't, you develop it and make sure he has that. And you say, look, if you want to see the field, you need to be our second string changeup guy. And that's how you develop that. And that's one of the best things you can do for yourself. So that way everyone knows the role. And then you have your third or fourth string guy he's the iPad guy. And, he's not the starter. He's not the changeup. He's the guy who's being developed still, but he's learning the position. And that's how we do that. Jared, is there anything else that I forgot with that whole situation?
Yeah, I think kind of the new age guy thrown in that that LSM that takes draws. I know not every LSM wants to take draws, but if you want to be a powerhouse program, you do need that final kind of defense line of a pole that can go out there. And yeah, we know he may not. It's great if he can touch the ball, but we know that he's going out there because nobody's touching the ball. We need to make sure that we are setting him up in a situation to, one, know how to take the ball away from a face-off guy, scout his exits, make it harder for him to pick up the ground ball. Because even if he picks up the ground ball, now we're putting the worst ball handler on the field in the other team's face-off guy against our takeaway artist, our one of our best athletes on the team who has that extension of the longer stick to pressure and tire out a supreme face-off guy. So that is something that I think every team needs to have. And I think every team, every face-off athlete should be going against the pole. You don't want to just have your face-off athletes going against the pole when he's crushing guys. You want him to be comfortable going against poles at all times. So not only is your pole who can face off getting better at facing off, but also your face-off athletes are getting better at getting away from long sticks. So now you're just building a face-off unit as opposed to, oh, we're getting killed. Throw that pole out there. Let's see how he's going to do. No, you have a guy who knows what he's going to do as your final stop against against an elite, like TV style opponent.
It's a great point. And we tell every team, you have an LSM. If you're a high school guy or you're a club guy and you want to play in college, you want to impress people, you have to just go up there and face off. And we don't mean go up there in the middle of a game. We mean actively doing it in practice and having a chance to work on those skills. I'm putting in the chat right now a YouTube video. It's called the LSM FOA Athlete 2.0. It's literally exactly how they need to face off. They watch that video, they follow that video, and they have 80% of what they need to know. The common problem for long poles, and Jerry and I are still shocked that there isn't a 60 or 70% LSM out there yet, because it's never been more beneficial to be an LSM at the face-off position than it is now with these rules. You get one step after the clamp, the ball is lined up in the middle of the sticks, and I would assume that the NCAA is going to follow the PLL and line it up higher to make it even better. And then you can't hold the ball in the back of the stick. So as an LSM, we don't care if you clamp. We don't care if you touch the ball. The problem most LSMs have is they get thrown out there, and most LSMs are used to drop stepping. So what happens on the whistle is they either break incorrectly and they get beat, or they drop step. And as soon as your right foot drops back, that's all the space I need to clamp and go right into a defensive turn. So we have these minor little footwork adjustments that they can work on in practice, and they could become an absolute juggernaut on face-offs if they want to do it. You don't need a face-off head to be an LSM face-off guy. So ground ball takeaways, face-off wins. I mean, stat machines if you're an LSM. So there's no reason, and they should practice it with the other guys in practice for sure. So that's a great point, Jerry. So that way everyone's got their role, everyone knows where they fit. Then we'll move on to the next part. And just for the caveat, just so everyone knows, what we're going to do after this session is everybody who's participating, we're going to give you an email address. If you have follow-up questions that maybe we missed or we didn't hit, feel free to send us an email this week. And what we'll do is we'll fire out towards the end of this coming week. We'll fire out quick answers to that, or we'll just go to the next session and we'll answer them real quickly if there's a couple of them. That way we can cover everything. So the next part of this is practice planning. And this is, this is the tough part for a lot of coaches. Like, how do I get these guys the training they need outside of a winter individual? How do I get them in practice and make them part of it? And we tell coaches all the time, make face-off guys part of practice as much as you can. It's a lonely enough position. We say it all the time. There's nothing lonelier than being the face-off guy who's lost a few face-offs in a row in a losing effort, and you're on the sideline by yourself. It's a terrible place to be. So in practice, aside from obviously the stick work and stuff, if there's not anything that if all the face-off guys are needed, say you're doing man up, man down or whatever, that's the time for face-off guys to go. I know a lot of coaches will just say, get out there 15 minutes ahead of time. But one, you're already separated from the team to start with. Two, that's just not enough time to really dial in what you want to do. So practice planning, we're going to break it down by time of year just to make it easier for you. So in fall ball, technique, right? And we always say this to our college guys when they go to college. We tell them the fall ball is going to be about you and about mastering your abilities and learning the team system and getting to know your players, your coaches, and everything. Though the spring is always about the other team and game planning for them. So we're going to use this fall to dial in your technique. And when we're doing our technique work, whenever that time is during a practice, that 30 minutes that you give to them, we tell them that things should be recorded, whether it's a volunteer assistant or an iPad sitting on a tripod. Everything should be recorded because this is so much technical biomechanical stuff. This is like trying to perfect a clean and jerk and never seeing yourself in the mirror or never seeing it on film to see if you're doing it right or you could be doing it better. This is like a golf swing. If you're doing it correctly, it's really obvious. If you're doing it wrong, it's really obvious. So things will start to jump out and they'll be able to self-correct very early in fall ball. So you don't have to worry about this stuff in the spring. So our goal is to have every single tool available to us by the time we get to the spring. So if I need a guy who is a predominantly right knee down power clamper and I need him to do a rake against a particular type of style face-off guy, he doesn't have to practice that rake in the spring. He knows how to do it. All he has to do is game plan, right? So the fall is all about working on our different technical skills. Now, right now, in about 2 weeks, we're going to be recording a training program for face-off guys. One of the things we realized is most face-off guys, they go out to the field, they sit on a knee, they do the move that they're already good at for about 10 minutes, then they take live reps with their friends, and they don't do anything about the stuff that they're not good at, right? So what we wanted to break it down was, instead of having this feeling like a kid usually, like someone who goes into a gym and has no idea what to do with the equipment and they just wander around, try a couple things and leave, we're writing a Monday through Friday kind of like a conjugate training system where like a knee down day, focusing strictly on clamp with varied exits and then individual work at the end. And then Tuesday would be like a stand-up, rake variations, and then defensive footwork. So what we're going to do is we're going to write it up. I'm going to video it, and we're going to break it down, and we'll send everybody on this list the video so that you can see the entire training program, because then those guys have like a very specific thing to work on each day of the week, Monday through Friday, rather than being like face-off stuff, right? So that's what we're trying to develop for guys and to help coaches, so it makes it very simple and easy. Now, that way, you have your particular thing, and then we can move on. So in the fall, it's all about that technique. In the winter, that's when you're usually doing your individual sessions, right? That's when the face-off guys can get used to studying film together, doing everything together. That's awesome. So that's where you really create that rapport. We tell every coach and we tell every kid. The kids don't want to hear it, so you guys are going to have to tell them. Drilling is way more important than live reps. And like we said, if Jerry and I just take live reps against each other all year, what ends up happening is we start to develop little quirky things just to beat each other. But like we said, the most important thing to remember is we'll never play each other in a game. And we see it all the time. Jerry and I have draw days. Kids come back from fall break or winter break, and all of a sudden they're getting beat by 7th graders and their stances are all whacked out because they've only been facing off against the same 1 or 2 people for an entire fall. And what we want to do is continue to stay on the track of what we're doing with this system, the biomechanics involved, not forgetting that stuff. So we work on drilling. So for instance, if you as a coach saw in fall ball, you're like, wow, like Jerry, his hand speed's great on the clamp. But when somebody, counters him, he just doesn't have the footwork to get out of there and exit. That's your drill. That's our goal. Is we're gonna write an honest list of things that Jerry's good at from top to bottom. And then during the winter, We're going to flip that list upside down, and we're going to work on what he's worst at the most, and we're going to work our way down from there. And we're going to drill. We're going to put our players in positions where they can work on the specific skills they're not good at. And that's what we want to do during the winter. Sure, a few live reps here and there at the end of the session just to make sure that guys are staying, relatively sharp, or that we can actually use the things we're trying to get better at. But guys who come in and just do live reps for 45 minutes, they don't get anything out of it. All they're doing is wearing the tread on their tires, and they might be really reinforcing poor mechanics. So we want to kind of stick to the drills. And like I said on that YouTube video, YouTube playlist on the Beast Lab, we were doing drill the days for like 3 weeks straight, and then we have 50 drills on there. So drills to solve all kinds of different issues. Jared, is there anything
guys,
else as far as that goes?
Yeah, and just to jump back in on that, and the reason why some of those guys will pick up those bad habits is because they're thinking, if I don't beat out the starter, I'm never going to play. So if you reinforce what we talked about earlier in the session, is that you're building a face-off unit, not necessarily a starter that the other 2-3 guys are hoping fails. You're building a face-off unit that is all working towards one same goal, right? You're kind of just a bunch of ants all working to bring food back to the hive, as opposed to one guy just hoping he stays on top and not helping out any of the guys underneath him because he doesn't want to get usurped. Now you have guys that are all training towards the same goal, not changing their technique. And that way, when they come back and we see them, they haven't done these things like, oh, that's how I beat the starter. Back to Greg's point, it doesn't matter because he's never going to face off against the starter outside of practice. So you make those live reps a lot less pressure sensitive and a lot more learning sensitive. Okay, this is how you get better, not necessarily this is how you get to start. So that's a super important, not only physical advantage, but a super important mental advantage, that you're building again, back to camaraderie, you're building a safe environment in this group that is they're all working towards the same goal, as opposed to guys just going, I got to beat this guy. That's all these backup face-off guys are thinking about, is just, how do I beat this guy to look good in front of coach?
Yeah. And then in the spring, we get through our winter stuff. In the spring, as soon as the kids come back from break, we try to just hammer film study. And we tell them, like we said, in the fall, that's great. We're working on you. In the winter, we're working on you. In the spring, we should understand all of our skill sets. You should be able to face off on a knee, standing up. You should know what you're doing in every kind of situation. Now we're going to study the film. We're going to list what, we're going into a game. I'm going against Gerard Arceri at Penn State. Gerard takes 17 face-offs in a game. I want you to list the wins, how he won each time. Where did he exit? What did he do? List all the things. And then let's list all the ways he lost. Now, let's look at what he did the least. Did he use his wings? Did he pop the ball out to his wings at all? No. Okay. So now we know our game plan, what we're going to do with the wings. We don't care about the wings because he didn't use them. So now all three of us are going to focus on Gerard, right? So that's just like a sample of what we would probably think or what we would do. And then we have the kids taking notes, and you have an entire unit studying up on one kid and not worrying about taking live reps or beating each other up in practice. They're game planning, and they're all sitting there like on game day, we're going to get this guy. And that's what you want. And not only that, but it gives you a week of preparation for not only you helping the face-off guys dial in, but now they have a game plan for the wings. So now the wings are in on it. Everyone knows what to do and what the guy's weakness and strength is. I always remember when I played at Penn State, we would, on the man down unit, we would have the other team's man up so dialed in that as soon as they would, get into their, pass, or we would see the formation shift, you'd see all the freshmen on the sideline all jacked up, yelling out what the play is, because we've been studying them so much. So the whole team felt like they were part of it. That's what you want. So what we're going to do is we're going to study, in practice, we're going to implement that. So, what we're going to do is we're going to drill. We're going to do 2 different types of drills. We're going to drill to take away whatever the strength is, and we're going to drill to expose whatever the weakness is. So, there's, like I said, you watch the film, you see what they do the least. That's what we're going to allow him to do, right? If I go against a guy and he never pops the ball through his legs, that's the only exit we're allowing this guy to have. And I don't care if you do it on a knee. I don't care if you do it stand up. We're going to practice it. We're going to work on it. And we're going to force this guy to do what he's not good at. That's the only way we're going to allow him to win a face-off. And then, once we have that, we're going to implement this into practice. So how do we implement it into practice? So, you know, like I said, in team, we want to be there as much as possible. And then coaches always ask, how do I take it and put it into practice? How do I get these guys the time they need, X, Y, and Z? The most under practiced thing in lacrosse, almost, I would argue, is the transfer after a 3-on-3 faceoff, right? So for instance, 6v6, we do it in every single lacrosse practice. Start it with a 3-on-3 draw, work on the shifting. So say it's the first line versus second line, and we're going to have a 3-on-3 faceoff. Whichever, say the first line wins, now they're going to go down. We're going to work on the transfer. The second line lost, work on the transfer. Now you get into your 6v6 and have 3 or 4 possessions. Boom, let's come back and start this with the 3-on-3 faceoff again. Very simple, very easy. Just so you guys know, just please mute yourselves if your guys aren't muted. Sorry. Okay, Jared, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, again, guys, I cannot stress enough how useful that is. That 3-on-3 drill, that 6-on-6 drill, just hitting the point, making your face-off guy comfortable throwing across his body, right? Every guy can do wall ball, but a face-off guy's pass is normally running full speed, looking somebody off, and then having to thread the needle on a run. Make his life easy, set him up for success, work on that, because that is probably the least worked on pass in lacrosse, is that starting face-off pass to the wing, and set up plays through that. Set up things coming up, guys moving from the top. I mean, it doesn't just have to be a pass and shoot or a pass shoot. You can build plays out of that. And I think that's a big part of the game that most coaches are not utilizing. So using your face-off guy to feed that pass and then set up plays, even taking that face-off guy and having the opposing face-off guy down for a 5-on-5 situation. Those are plays that we've ran in the past that have had success. It's not just pass, shoot, or pass and hold the ball and get into your set. There's a lot of different ways to get out of that, and that's the best way to work on that, is in those 6v6 and 3v3 situations.
Yeah, I'm going to share this screen real quick to Jerry's point. We talk about, when we were at Penn State, we called it gotcha. And we always talk about like this being the easiest, simplest. This is actually the wrong clip. Hold on a second. So we talk about it all the time when we are playing in a game, and you know, this is always one of the things that drove me nuts, is every single face-off is an opportunity to score an easy transition goal, or at least put yourself in a huge advantage. So here we have first face-off of a game, and I would do this almost every single face-off unless I was told not to. Now you get down here, first thing you do is you run to the crease, because now you force the face-off guy to be the crease guy. Get everyone else out of there, right? They have to circle up. We get the ball over. We're transferring through the box. I would never run off until after the LSM's off. So the LSM comes on, or the third midi would come out of the box. Everyone's eyes are going towards the box. You want to go, obviously, dodge far side from the box. As soon as Perk catches this, I'm going to sprint right up like I'm going to set a screen. Okay, Kavanaugh kind of came into the crease and ruined this. But so you're gonna sprint straight from the crease, and you're just going to run at this guy. Now, the guy trailing, he can't just beat you, because what if you cut back? So he has to kind of trail. You're putting a face-off guy in a defensive position, and all you're going to do, you don't even have to stop. I stopped for a second to fake the screen, but boom, I'm out of there. Now, right off the bat, I have a 10-yard break on this guy. Perk is dodging down the alley. If he stays, that's great. Throw it to X. I run off clean. Now we got a face-off guy stuck on the field. Awesome. Let's go at him, right? Most guys will panic and they'll just run off super late after me, which is what happens here. And what we're going to do is Perk has the option. If Cav comes out, now there's no slide. He can take it right to the crease. He could bang it to X and throw it back up top. So Cav comes up. Okay, Brody sees it because he's a genius. He's awesome. So he's going to now go to this. He's going to go to Perk and slide. Perk makes the goal out of this, but if he didn't, this would have been an easy pass, back over top, and a step down. So this took 12 seconds. We scored, okay? The next face-off was a false start. We did the same thing to them. Ran right to the crease. This time, I ended up just backing out and running straight off, and there was no slide, and we came down and we had another goal. So this is the kind of thing that you can do on every single face-off. And you know, we tell kids, look, there's an 80-second shot clock, man. Like, There's no reason not to run something like this. Even something simple like you win the face-off, you go down to the crease, you just run in a circle. Even if you want to keep somebody in the crease, run in a circle and then sprint off and try to get a gotcha. But we call it the lazy exit. You win a face-off and you just kind of jog to the sideline. Like, dude, like you're a 19-year-old kid or a 16-year-old kid. Like, you can sprint all day, make the most out of this for your team. Let's get that gotcha. So that's the kind of stuff we talk about. That's an easy, incentivized way for your whole team to be cheering for a guy. And then also on defense, right? He's got to practice defense in practice so he doesn't get stuck and he's not that guy. Jared, is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, guys, sorry. It looks like some of you weren't able to see that clip, so we'll get that up for you guys to see. Greg, are you able to put that in the chat by any chance?
The clip?
Yeah,
I'll find a way to get it up there.
Okay, cool. Just that screen share didn't work for some of the guys. But yeah, again, just to drive that home, guys, use it. The FOGO's a dead position. There's no more FOGOs out there. If you have one, start recruiting better. But having a face-off athlete is a guy. When we say face-off athlete, that's not because we're just trying to stamp a brand on somebody. We want a face-off guy who is an athlete. We want a dude who can run, who can get all up and down the field and take advantage of these guys who are not athletes. That's why coaches don't want FOGOs anymore. Coaches want athletes who can face off. So if you can go at a face-off guy, why wouldn't you?
Yeah,
driving home that point. What do we got here next? Yeah, lazy jogger. Yep.
Yeah. So when we are when we go to the individual training, what should guys do, right? So when they go to their training, we have our FOA split we talked about, and we'll have that to you guys in a couple of weeks after we video it. We have the FOA warm-up. We want them guys to come in and know exactly what they're doing. We have the FOA warm-up on that playlist, on that Beast Lab playlist. Just scroll down, and it's a whole video of me performing each movement with the title of it, so they can't possibly screw it up. It works on getting the stance dialed in. It works on efficiency of the first move, and it works on the second move. We'll get way into all that stuff in the next sessions, but what you're going to notice, the common denominator amongst the way we coach face-off guys and the way we believe that we want guys to train, is you have a specific amount of time to dedicate to face-offs every day in practice. We only do things that are directly correlated to the movement of a face-off and how to win it. There's a lot of stuff out there that's theory. There's a lot of stuff out there that's honestly just fluff to just have guys do stuff. Juggling, some of the other weird stuff, moving a ball back and forth, that has nothing to do with a face-off. And we talk about this all the time with kids. We tell them, coach, I spent 45 minutes doing chops yesterday. We're like, are you okay? This isn't not a face-off move. We do that for 10 seconds just to get your hands warm and make sure everyone's looking at a coach, and that's it. Because we tell everybody, if you just move your hands really fast and do all these drills, that's great, but that's not correlated to what a motion is on a face-off, because if that was the case, Jerry and I could go to Vegas and just grab a blackjack dealer, bring him up here, and he'd be the best face-off guy in the country. So it's not about just moving your hands really fast. So the juggling thing and all the other stuff, and also this concept of hand-eye coordination on a clamp, you can literally face off with your eyes closed because it's the only position on the entire field that's redundant. It's always the same motion. The ball's always in the same place. You're always lined up the same. So you can literally close your eyes and finish your clamp. So it has nothing to do with hand-eye coordination either on the initial motion. So everything we do is about getting your stance dialed in, making sure you're limber, make sure that you're doing every motion exactly like a face-off motion. So everything we do is very efficient because we're very sensitive to the fact that as a coach, I only have a certain amount of time for practice. I don't have time for four of my guys to juggle 15 minutes, right? So that's kind of why we have this set up. We'll create those splits. And then the other thing is when you're doing individual programming for your face-off guys in their training, not only do you want it videoed, but the other two really important things is, one, we want the cadence to be realistic, right? If you have multiple guys on the sideline, make sure the third guy out is putting the ball down second, putting his hand over it, because the visual cadence is just as important as the audio cadence. So when we line up, if you're just saying set, blow, whistle, that was great a few years ago, but now you're so used to on game day of seeing the hand come down and say set and setting yourself, because the hand is exactly what you're looking for to make sure you know that you have to be prepared. So then you're ready. So that is such a huge part of it. And it also cuts out false starts. The hand motion for the referees was one of the smartest things they ever did, putting the ball down second, because it got rid of, it really limited false starts because you're not just guessing when the ref's going to say go. So that was huge. So we need that put into the practice as well. The other part, and the part that we just crush our kids for, is finish the rep. Because so many times you see kids just sit on a knee, one guy wins the clamp and the other just stops. And we all know that if your kid did that in a game, you would kill him. So why is he doing it in practice? It's the same reason that most kids have awful defensive footwork, because when they lose a clamp in practice, they just give up. So on offense, if you win, get the ball and we finish with the dish, whether it's the coach, it's that third or fourth guy out. As soon as you win your face-off, get rid of it as fast as you can so you can work on catching the ball backhanded, shielding, and getting rid of it. On the other side of it, it trains your guys who lose the clamp to immediately get to their feet, and we tell them, we need to work on your counter footwork. Always affect the guy's exit. Jerry, you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys, your athletes could probably take back 15 to 20, 25% of the draws they lose if you just rep that belly to helmet finish on every rep, because that so many guys are a hair second on that step up where they get into their belly to helmet. That's where you're going to start mixing up your opponent's exits and taking that ball away from them. So if you're not training it, how is he expected to have success with it on game day? Make the guys finish the reps. I always akin it to, you don't stop a 110 at the 50-yard line. Coach is going to kick you off the field. Finish the rep, then come back. Take a breather if you need to. Finish the rep, come back, reset. Don't let guys just sit on the knee and hit. Sit on the knee and hit. Got to finish the drill, get to your feet. And also, can't stress this enough, do not let guys slide up on the plastic when they're taking reps. Have them take reps the way they're going to take it on game day. I know face-off guys, it's even advantage in the gamesmanship, but I got news for you. If you are a powerhouse program and you're going to make playoffs or you're going to go to conference playoffs, you're going to get a real deal referee that comes in and says, get your hands on the plastic. And then the guy who's had his hand on the plastic all preseason and in the regular season is going to start, oh, coach, I don't know what's going on. He's backing me off the plastic, make my life harder. Those are the rules. There's no more gray area. It's black and white. Hands off the plastic. I have to see tape. And no different than you guys checking your attackman's stick during practice to see if they have an illegal pocket. They are cheating. That is an illegal thing to do. It's going to cost you. It's maybe not be a 3-minute, but it's going to cost you draws, and you don't want that either. So make sure that guys are keeping their hands off the plastic. You practice the way you play. Finish the rep, get in your feet. It's a very simple message, and guys will abide by it as long as they are, as long as they know that there is a repercussion for not finishing the drill.
Yeah. And a couple other things too. We have no idea. Obviously, it's a rule change year, but we don't know if COVID's going to affect that or not. One of the things that two things we fully expect or hope that the rules committee will take a look at is what the PLL did. One, bringing the wings in closer. And two is the other, which is sliding the ball up higher on the head of the stick when they line up, because we did that in the PLL and it made a massive difference. You have the softer part of the plastic is closer to the scoop. So when impact happens, one guy always ends up with more of it. So you don't end up with, 2 inches from your fist, throat to throat, banging and getting those tie ups. So, so because of that, we tell our guys when you're practicing, always line the ball up as high up towards the scoop as you can. We make our guys line the ball up at their shooting strings. And the reason behind that is, one, if they do adjust the ball in fall ball, we're way out in front of it. Two, it's a great way to be able to tell where your weight distribution is going on the whistle. And we'll get way into that on session 2. But as a face-off guy, if I line the ball up towards the top of the head, I want to make sure that I'm driving into the ball. So that's just like a little tiny thing that, not just the rules getting out in front of them, but also of making sure that we have that ball up higher to help kids with their weight distribution and their right hand punch. So we'll get way into that in session 2. Now I just put the clip up that I had on the screen share earlier. If everybody wants to look in the chat, when you look in the chat, there will be that'll be there. Are there people in the weight room, Jer?
I think some guys left to when your screen wasn't going on. They may have thought that it was their computer.
Okay.
If you want to admit those guys back in.
Yeah, I it says 5 waiting, but there's nobody under there, so it's all good. Someone just said that we can disable the weight room once you started. I don't know how to do that. So I will,
I'll figure it out for the next one.
yeah, next time we'll disable it. So that's basically what we have bullet pointed for how to manage your face-off guys. We didn't want to make this a 3-hour thing, but because we have some spare time here, we'll have like 5 minutes or so. If anyone has like really pertinent questions that are on the forefront of your mind, just go ahead and throw them in the chat real quick, and we'll answer a couple of them. If not, and you want to get out of here and you want to ask those questions, I'm going to put the email address in now that you guys can send them to. info@faceoffacademy.com. And that's the email address that you guys can always contact us at. And it's also the one, if there's anything that you think we missed or that we can kind of expand on, we're going to go ahead and answer those questions for you. Okay. So I don't see anybody with any pertinent questions kind of popping up right now. But
Greg, you want to throw you want to throw the belly to helmet drill video in the chat? Someone's asking to explain the belly to helmet a little bit more, but we have a great video on that.
We do. So just so you guys know, session 2 is going to be knee down technique. And we're going to go over the counters, and we're going to go over the belly to helmet stuff in detail. As far as, what I can do right now is I can throw, let me pull up the website, the YouTube thing. And what I'm going to do is I'll actually put the belly to helmet drill that I have on my YouTube videos. I'll put that in here for you to see. There's 2 different videos. One's called Pure Counters. The other's called Pure Counters 2 as well on here. And they go over all counters, both on a knee and stand up. But let me grab this real quick for you so you have the belly to helmet drill. Jared, before we sign off, is there anything that you can think of that we probably missed or that we can expand on? I want to make sure.
We got a couple questions here. How do you choose your wings for face-off styles and play characteristics, etc.? Again, going back to film, guys, I cannot stress enough. There's so much great information on there. Just when you're looking at your opponent, I know you D1 guys have a week. For us D3 guys and D2 guys, sometimes we're playing 2 games a week. You can break that film down in a few hours very easily. You'll see when a team is hot, where they set up their wings. Guys, if you could just mute yourselves if you don't mind.
That was me, Jared.
You'll see teams that what they're doing when they're winning and what they're doing when they're losing. And you'll be able to know exactly, all right, this is what happens when this guy starts to lose. They slide their wings forward to cut the break, giving you guys carte blanche to go out the back door all day, save your face-off guy's legs, save him from getting beat up by guys who are crashing in on him. You guys can really, because again, you can only cover so much of the field with those 2 guys. So again, cannot stress enough how much good stuff is going to be there. We'll break down a little bit more in the upcoming session, really like what you're looking for when you're breaking down film. But again, you guys don't necessarily need us to sit there and point out every single X and O. You can just watch the patterns that these guys are doing. Okay, TD's winning. Why can't they take the ball from him? Oh, because his wings are staying so spread out that if the second he feels pressure, he's got an easy alley-oop pass over the top. So now we have to make a decision. Are we going to let TD handle the ball, or are we going to let an all-American midfielder handle the ball? Pick your poison. Okay, so what are we going to do? We're going to put a pole out there and make sure TD has to run for his life every single face-off because we're going to lock the wing. That's our game plan this week. Will it work? Probably. Who knows? But that's what that's how you guys should be looking at that film breakdown. I don't know if I just cut out there. My screen went black, so I apologize. But I'll get off that topic because I'm getting a little long-winded there.
It's okay. No, the wing play question is great. As far as how many wings or all that stuff, it's the same thing. We need rapport. And just throwing a guy out there who doesn't have the understanding or the little minute details from a wing perspective is really important. So we tell coaches 2, maybe possibly a 3rd shorty, and then 2 LSMs. And those are the guys you want to rotate on the wings. So they gain rapport. They start to understand those little tiny details. As soon as Jerry saws down, I see that left hand action. I know he's pulling out to his left hand, like that kind of stuff. And we're actually the 4th session that we're going to do, the final session, is going to be all about wing play, how to line them up, how to vet them, how to break down film, how to do all that stuff. We're going to have a lot of different stuff for you. So we'll get to that when we get to it. I put the belly to helmet video link on here. and we'll continue to move on with everything from one thing to other. Now, someone had asked about screen recording at the beginning. We're not allowing the screen recording just for now because we're probably going to do some edits to tighten this up as a video and make sure that it's more presentable, and then we'll post it on our website. So all of this is going to be available. I don't know exactly how long it'll take us to do the video editing and make it all polished so we can embed it, but we're going to put it on our website. So there's one page dedicated to this whole masterclass. Okay. All right, Jer, is there anything else you can think of?
Nothing that we aren't going to cover in the next sessions, guys. So again, this could go for a 4-hour session. So we just want to make sure we're chopping this up in nice, digestible pieces for you guys. A lot of good information out here. A couple links for you guys to take a look at. And again, fire off some questions to that info at faceoffacademy.com, and we can get a little bit more in depth with you. But again, guys, we try to be as available as possible. All of our contact information is on that website, and we are here for you guys. We're like this isn't for players. This is specifically done for the high school coach, the college coach, the youth coach that is just looking for a little bit more information on how to guide these guys through your system.
Awesome.
Any more questions?
No, I didn't see any. I will say this though, next Sunday, same time, same channel, we're going to be going over knee down specifically. Everything that you could possibly want to know about the knee down position and why we do it and where and all the techniques involved. So we're going to go over that at 6 p.m. sharp next Sunday. So I guess we're going to sign off. I just want to say thank you for everybody. This is awesome. Enjoy your Memorial Day. Stay safe and healthy. And we'll see you guys next week. Okay. Take care.